Listen.
Let's go back and talk about Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. I mean, all right, I want to judge the excitement level here. On a scale from 1 to 10, how does everyone feel about this?
Crying.
Yeah? Crying?
10? I think that's like a 10.5 or something.
On a scale of 1 to crying.
Like, as soon as they said that it was based in Kanto is when I was like, oh, I'm sold.
Yeah.
I love Kanto. I have those gym badges tattooed on me. So it's like pretty important to me, and I love the original 150. But the thing that makes me less excited is that I don't know how the battle system is going to work. I don't know how grinding is going to work. I know it's not a true RPG and there's still one coming, but I don't know how that stuff is going to work. So I kind of want more information right now.
Yes, yeah, that's exactly how I feel about it. I was actually like tweeting direct messaging with Andrew over the weekend, and he schooled me on some Pokemon information, which thank you, I appreciate that. But I was also a little worried about like, okay, is this basically Pokemon Go like the video game essentially? Like, I know that it's focused on trainer battles, and you're not going to have any sort of random encounters with Pokemon in the wild. So that kind of like throws me off. Like, how much is battling going to be focused here?
It seems like a perfect hybrid.
Yeah,
like, it's like all of the catching and encounters are like Pokemon Go. So no random encounters. You see them in the overworld. You click them to interact with them. That stuff is very Pokemon Go-esque and throwing Pokeballs instead of battling. But then the trainer battles, like the trainers you meet along the route, that seems to be super core Pokemon.
Right. I mean, it's hard to say from what we've seen so far, but all the animations that we've seen from the battles in the original trailer and announcement seemed just as intense as you would in any other Pokemon game.
Right.
And so I think this is just a great marriage of that nostalgia and then also bringing in the Pokemon Go players to like get that full Pokemon experience.
Yeah.
And like I was like, we're going on your first adventure again, but in a new way. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, and I think Nintendo
excited.
and Game Freak, they've been so like very well in their messaging, or they've been getting that message across real nice that this is really kind of meant for and I want to say like the fans, the Pokemon fans that we are, I guess, or at least I am, where I grew up with Red, Blue, and Yellow, and then I started falling off a little bit later, like when Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon came out, or Sun and Moon came out, like eventually.
It's like that was really recently.
Yeah, no, I know, but I mean, like even on like the DS, like I kind of drifted away from it, but I still care so much about those original first 151 Pokemon.
Yeah.
So like for me, this is so cool that they're focusing on that. It's totally a trip down memory lane being back at the Kanto region.
Well, I think a lot of people feel that way, right? Like we were playing Pokemon Go a couple weeks ago, and you were like, I don't care about these. Like, it's like,
it's like get out of here. And I still played them all, but it's like the ones that are like embedded in my heart are the Kanto original 150 or 157.
Right.
I don't count as Mew as an original Pokemon.
Yeah, and good reason too, because like that's what we grew up with, right?
Yeah.
And then we had the anime to go with it, and all the books and whatever else you played with the card game. I think this is a really interesting thing though, because when I was talking to Casey about like interviews she had about this,
which you can read in IGN.
Yes, please go read those. I believe someone said that the idea with this game was that they had the, I guess, conception that maybe, or perception, that a lot of younger kids couldn't play Pokemon Go because they didn't have smartphones.
Right.
And like maybe you could like share your parents' phone or something, but that's not really acceptable, I guess, for them, and that they really wanted to share this experience with everybody, or the Pokemon Go experience specifically.
It does seem like it's supposed to be slightly more kid-friendly, and that it is taking out some of the like grindy aspects of Pokemon, which I personally love, but it being more accessible is great. But it also seems like they're trying to get the audience who loves Pokemon Go, who really jumped on the train when it launched last year, the year before.
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Almost exactly
now.
2 years, yeah.
That's crazy. So like all the people who I think probably were people who were only familiar with the original Pokemon who jumped on that and haven't played in a while.
Yeah, and it's like even Pokemon Go does a really smart thing where it's Gen 1, but it's Gen 1 sort of through the lens of Gen 7, meaning like you still have some things that were added later, like types and genders and things that came in later generations. I think they've done a smart way of like, you have those original Pokemon, but they're sort of like slightly colored by the more modern perspective. And like, I'm glad like Alolan forms are still going to be in this, because like I feel like it would be weird to not acknowledge that stuff exists,
Yeah. And I think it's such a great idea that they're blending like Pokemon Go aspects with this Pokemon game on Switch, because obviously like, the game has been downloaded. I think they said something like over 800 million times, which is an amazing number, especially for a mobile game download. So like, for Nintendo to sort of look past that would be foolish, and they're geniuses for trying to bring some of that audience that enjoyed Pokemon Go so much and sort of introduce or reintroduce the core. I don't want to call this a core game because it's obviously not a core game, but almost core style gameplay of what we know of Pokemon
Yes.
with Pokemon Go.
So you're saying this
So-
isn't really a remake of Yellow so much as a reimagining because
Right,
there are
yeah.
so many differences here. And I think, like you're saying, it's really smart that they're trying to integrate those parts from Pokemon Go, but kind of going back to the kids and parents thing, like you could see like maybe some parents were really interested in Pokemon now that they play this with their kids or they went on walks. 'Cause I saw that a lot. Like when I was first playing Pokemon Go, I went to a park and like there was just like all these kids and parents and teens and just all sorts of people out playing Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
And now this, because of that couch co-op feature too, could be like a really awesome chance for like parents to play with kids.
Seeing co-op sounds really
and just
cool.
anybody play with another person
Yeah.
because that will be a lot of fun.
So that was just a small taste of this week's episode of NVC. But if you want to join us for our full live show, head on over to IGN.com every Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Or if you missed that, join us on YouTube every Friday.